The night Natalie Wood disappeared still feels like an unsolved riddle whispered on salty air. Picture Catalina Island on a cool Thanksgiving weekend in 1981. A gentle swell rocking Robert Wagner's yacht Splendour, thin fog curling off the water, and laughter that suddenly flips to shouting no one on shore can quite make out. By morning, the most famous face from West Side Story lies lifeless in the Pacific, dressed in a nightgown and red down coat, the yacht's little dinghy drifting near her. Police call it an accident. Friends can't believe it. And, for more than 40 years, every new bit of gossip, every fresh witness keeps that question alive. Was it really just a tragic slip, or is someone still hiding the truth? Long before mystery clung to her name, Natalie was Hollywood's wonder kid. Born Natalia Zakharenko to Russian immigrant parents in San Francisco, she strolled onto a movie set before she entered kindergarten, stealing scenes in Happy Land. At 8, she melted hearts in Miracle on 34th Street, that wide-eyed girl who wanted proof Santa existed. Studio bosses spotted gold. Her mom pushed hard. Natalie learned early that charm plus hard work equals paychecks grown-ups dream about. The applause sounded sweet, yet it came with grown-up pressure no 8-year-old should shoulder. And as she shot up from child star to teen icon, the spotlight never blinked. Teenage Natalie burned bright beside James Dean in Rebel Without a Cause. One moment she's memorizing spelling words, the next she's nominated for an Oscar, her grief-soaked eyes turning teenage rebellion into art. Crowds saw raw honesty. Producers saw bankable drama. Natalie saw very little privacy. She kept the hits rolling. Splendour in the Grass tore open First Love heartbreak. West Side Story wrapped tragedy around a killer soundtrack. Yet the applause became a wall she could barely peek over. Fame, it turned out, could thrill and trap you in the same breath. Into that pressure cooker stepped Robert Wagner. Handsome, charming, almost too perfect. Magazines sold their 1957 wedding like a fairy tale, white dress, glowing smiles, glitzy honeymoon. But behind glossy covers, rumors started to smolder. The loudest said Natalie discovered Wagner was seeing a male colleague on the side. In the early 60s, that kind of gossip could nuke a career, so they smiled for cameras even as their marriage cracked. By 1962, she filed for divorce, the dream dress now a newspaper clipping footnote. Natalie told friends trust had left the building. What came next proved heartbreak wasn't the only thing she could collect. Single Natalie dated like someone searching for steady ground. Warren Beatty turned her head but left almost as quickly. British charmer Michael Caine shared cocktails and headlines. Venezuelan businessman Ladislav Blatnik slipped a ring on her finger only for the engagement to vanish before wedding planners booked a florist. Then British producer Richard Gregson entered, promising calm outside the Hollywood bubble. They married in 1969, welcomed daughter Natasha a year later, and for a blink, Natalie glimpsed normal. But filming schedules, press junkets, and old insecurities chipped away. By 1972, they divorced, leaving Natalie wondering if love could ever outlast fame. In a twist no screenwriter could top, she reunited with Wagner. They said their second I do aboard a yacht off Malibu in July 1972. No grand ballroom, just ocean breeze and a vow to start fresh. Daughter Courtney arrived in 1974, and magazine spreads painted a family reclaimed from heartbreak. Behind doors, tension never fully disappeared. Years later, former FBI man Donald Wilson claimed he and Natalie had a secret 4-year romance that began while she was pregnant. Wagner ignored the story. Friends argued about what to believe. Real or rumor, it hinted storm clouds were still circling the deck of that picture-perfect yacht. Thanksgiving, 1981. The clouds finally burst. Splendour anchored near Catalina for a weekend escape. On board, Natalie, Wagner, actor Christopher Walken, her Brainstorm co-star, and Captain Dennis Davern. Dinner ashore ran long. Wine kept flowing on the boat. Witnesses later said Wagner bristled over Natalie and Walken's lively talk about career choices. After midnight, campers on shore heard a woman's frantic screams cutting through the dark. Then silence. Around dawn, a patrol boat found Natalie in the water, bruises on her arms, dinghy adrift. She'd always been terrified of deep water. Why would she climb into a dinghy at night? Answers sank with her. Authorities stamped accidental drowning on the file within weeks. They brushed off bruises as rough seas, her fear of water as irrelevant, and timeline gaps as harmless confusion. Hollywood sighed, a scandal dodged. Yet the people who loved Natalie felt a knot that wouldn't untangle. Why did Wagner wait hours to radio for help? Why did Davern's first statement feel rehearsed? The yacht logs didn't match watch times. But with no camera phones, no pierside CCTV, the case slipped into the sad tragedy drawer. Natalie was mourned, then frozen in memory. Forever 43, forever star-crossed. 3 decades later, the boat's captain yanked that drawer open again. In 2011, Davern told a TV crew he'd lied back then, pressed by Wagner to keep their argument quiet. He now swore Wagner smashed a wine bottle, the couple fought, and Wagner stopped him from turning on searchlights when Natalie vanished. Detectives reopened the case, called in ocean current experts, and re-examined those bruises. The coroner amended the death certificate to drowning and other undetermined factors. Translation, something didn't add up, and maybe never had. Wagner was later tagged a person of interest, but charges? None. The mystery refused to offer closure. Fresh voices keep surfacing, like echoes the ocean didn't swallow. In late 2024, a retired deckhand said he was 17 on a neighboring boat that night and heard a woman begging for help. A former studio electrician claimed Wagner once joked he could fix problems at sea. Both signed affidavits urging a grand jury. Leaked police notes floated jealousy as the spark, that Natalie thought Wagner's wandering eye had landed on a famous co-star. Meanwhile, internet sleuths pounced on an Italian magazine chat where Christopher Walken admitted the memory still keeps him up at night, though he insists he never saw violence. Every new soundbite resurrects old suspicions. Natalie's family stands divided, grief wearing 2 faces. Daughter Natasha, raised mostly by Wagner, believes her mom slipped, pure heartbreaking accident. In a 2020 documentary, she called Wagner a devoted husband scarred by rumors. Natalie's sister, Lana, sees it another way. Too many bruises, too many changing stories, too much influence steering police toward accident. Holidays reportedly feel like court recess, each side clutching separate verdicts no mediator can merge, and every fresh headline reopens wounds healed only on the surface. Hollywood, post-Me Too, is reevaluating old power dynamics. Back then, studios protected profitable stars. Uncomfortable questions risked derailing projects worth millions. Some see Natalie's case as Exhibit A for how influence can steer an investigation. When Wagner became a person of interest in 2018, insurers and producers quietly panicked. Box office schedules, syndication deals, legacy TV contracts, all at stake. Legal experts whisper that fear of collateral damage might still hover over prosecutors' shoulders when they weigh new evidence. So the file stays in progress, open but motionless, like a vessel adrift with no wind. Beneath the crime scene intrigue is Natalie's real legacy. She showed Hollywood how a child star could grow into a 3-time Oscar nominee, demand serious roles, and speak up for fair pay before it was trending. Directors praised her focus. Hit your mark, deliver emotion, no drama. Co-stars said she could make heartbreak feel like your own with a single trembling sigh. Off-camera, she championed mental health awareness decades before social media hashtags. Those achievements deserve center stage, yet the shadow of her final night refuses to budge. Psychologists say uncertain endings can haunt families more than grim truths. When a loved one's last moments blur into conflicting timelines, your brain keeps replaying what-if scenarios on loop. That might explain why podcasts, TikTok threads, and fresh documentaries still chase Natalie's story. Crowdsourcing clues police files never had. Some investigators quietly watch these feeds. A surprising tip from an armchair sleuth solved the cold case once, so why not this one? The same entertainment machine that smothered awkward truths now supplies a megaphone too loud to ignore. Could a grand jury finally drag every secret into daylight? Maybe. Witnesses are aging, memories fog over, but sworn testimony could at least lock today's version of events into the public record. If that happens, Wagner, now in his 90s, might face questions under oath for the first time. Even as statutes keep criminal charges out of reach, many argue the truth itself holds value. Others worry reopening wounds punishes more than it heals. For now, the district attorney's inbox holds petitions and affidavits, the file thick with contradictory stories, waiting for someone brave enough to turn the next page. So, what should we believe when we think about Natalie Wood? Picture not just the tragic headline, but the full arc. A shy Russian-American girl who could cry on cue. A teenager who carried the angst of a generation. A woman who kept chasing real love in a town built on illusion. Her final chapter is messy, open-ended, and maybe unfair, but her earlier chapters still shimmer, prove you can dazzle millions even while battling private storms. The mystery doesn't erase her artistry. It simply reminds us legends are human. And that leaves us with the question whispered every time new headlines pop up. Will the ocean ever give up the rest of its secrets? Maybe a forgotten diary surfaces, or a guilt-ridden witness finally clears a conscience. Maybe prosecutors call that grand jury and sworn words connect dots that rumors never could. Or maybe the truth stays tangled in waves, a story told by lapping water rather than court transcripts. For now, Natalie's name keeps floating above the surface, inviting each generation to ask again, what really happened that night? Until answers surface, one fact stays solid. Justice delayed isn't automatically justice denied. Cases once thought impossible to crack have found closure with technology, persistence, and a single brave voice. Natalie's file still sits open. Every new tip, each small memory unlocked, keeps hope alive that her family and the public might one day trade theories for facts. The ocean gave her body, perhaps time will give up the truth. So next time you stream Miracle on 34th Street or hum along to Tonight from West Side Story, pause a beat. Behind that bright smile was a woman juggling fame, fear, romance, and relentless attention, sometimes gracefully, sometimes frayed at the edges. The mystery doesn't define her, but it does ask us to look closer at how power, silence, and reputation can twist a simple search for answers. Natalie Wood's legend started with a child believing in Santa and ends, at least for now, with whispers above dark water. Between those moments lies talent, determination, and a life that proves even the brightest stars can fall into shadows no spotlight reaches. Keep listening for the unanswered cries. Keep questioning neat official stories. And remember that unfinished tales still deserve our attention. Maybe the last line of this story hasn't been written yet, and maybe you'll be the one who helps write it.